Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Brendan and welcome back to the channel. And today I want to talk about how there is still hundreds of millions of dollars flowing into the crypto ecosystem despite it being at yearly lows right now. In fact, there's a lot of examples that we're going to be looking at in today's video, but whether that is a 10 million, a 50 million, a 100 million, or even a $400 million round coming into crypto, there's a lot of money to be passed around here, and it's very clear that interest in crypto has not disappeared, at least not from the 1%. So today we're going to cover just a few of these examples, and I say just a few, but we have almost 10 different tabs pulled up of all of these different sources of income and sources of money that is looking to actively put their money into crypto, whether that be Web3 or DeFi or all these different projects. There's plenty to go around for everyone. So if you are interested in topics like this and learning about how crypto is growing, consider hitting that like and that subscribe button, as it does help out the channel a lot. But that being said, let's go ahead and dive on in here and do a short little analysis of Bitcoin before we look at all of these new sources of money that's coming into crypto from one way or another. But it's no secret that crypto right now, especially when we're looking at Bitcoin, is really close to its yearly bottom of around 17,000. In fact, we just peaked back down into the low end of the 18,000s just the other day. So with crypto being really, really close to its yearly lows, not only its yearly lows, but its multi-year lows. We're talking levels that we have not seen since 2017, 2018. That is how low that we are right now. But I don't think that that's a bad thing. And the reason for that is that if we go over and we look at some of just the sheer amount of money that's coming into crypto right now, it is still astronomical. In fact, we have already passed. Tom Dunleavy, one of the head researchers over at Messari, did a study and did some research and published it publicly that the amount of capital and funding that has been raised for 2022 has already surpassed everything that we have seen in the 2021 bull run. And according to the projections, we are projected to beat our funding of 2021 by around 25 to 30% if it stays consistent for the rest of this year. And when we're taking a look at a couple of these different examples of how money is coming into crypto, this is a great one. Two Sigma Ventures raises $400 million for two funds, and they're planning for crypto investments. Now, while all $400 million of this is not directly going into crypto, they say that they invest about 15% of its capital into crypto and Web3 projects. Now, take note of this Web3 projects part, because this is going to be a reoccurring theme in a lot of these different investments that we see. There is a lot of interest in Web3, and while that is kind of an all-encompassing saying, meaning that there are a lot of subcategories inside of Web3, this is something to pay attention to. So here we have a $400 million fund that is saying that they are actively going to be investing in crypto and Web3. Over here, we have another great article that says crypto market maker of former Citadel execs raise $50 million. And then we go over to this one that says Y Combinator alumni raises $80 million for a DAO, which stands for a decentralized autonomous organization, to back crypto startups. So there's no shortage of money, whether that be in Web3 or cryptos or decentralized autonomous organizations, or even in the startup world of crypto. There's still a lot of money to be passed around and be spread about. And when people think of a bear market, they think, hey, money's going to be drying up, these startups are going to fail, projects are going to fail, and that's true for some of these projects, but that's not true for all of them. And we can see that with this one being published less than a month ago, $80 million for crypto startups is no small amount of money. So it's very clear that money is still coming in for these startups, and startups that want to be innovative and create new technology, there's still going to be money for them. Maybe they need to be a little bit more competitive with it in a bear market, meaning that they're not going to essentially walk in, give any kind of pitch, whether it's a 1 or a 10, and get the funding. Now they might have to actually create a well thought through pitch, but the funding's still there for a lot of these projects. Now, for anyone who's familiar with the channel, you would know that I am a fan of gaming, especially when it comes to the metaverse and these play-to-earn games. I can see how it can easily be the future of gaming as we know it. And so with this article saying that Web3 games and metaverse projects have raised over $748 million in August, it makes sense, because when we look at the gaming industry as a whole, it is set to generate over $196 billion this year alone. That is nearly $200 billion for the gaming industry. So when people say, I don't understand how something can raise this much money this fast or anything like this, you have to remind them that a near $200 million is a fraction of what this industry is set to generate this year in over $200 billion. So there's a big difference here. There's a lot of money to go around. And so when we look at this and we say, hey, $750 million raised is a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, this is still less than 1/200th of what the industry as a whole is set to make this year. And so this tells me two things, or really one main thing, and that's there is still a very small market share that play to earn and metaverse and Web3 games have dominated and taken over so far. And if we are at maybe less than 1% dominance of play to earn games and throughout the entire gaming industry, then this field is still in its infancy and there's still a lot of money to be made. Again, if there is, it might be sitting at 1% dominance, play to earn games, but from the looks of it right now, it is somewhere around there. Now, in another article, we have Web3 infrastructure company, and again, I've said, make sure we note that Web3 is important here because it's going to be a reoccurring theme. We want to know where the top 1% of companies and individuals, where are the 1%ers investing their money? And here we go again, Web3 infrastructure company, Miston Labs, raises $300 million. And this goes into kind of everything that they are looking into, what they're interested in, and everything of that sort. So as we continue to work our way through here, we have another metaverse game saying Star Citizen breaks another crowdfunding record by raising over $500 million in total. Now, this isn't in a recent round. This is saying that from start to date, Star Citizen has raised a total of $500 million. And we have to remind people that when they say $500 million is too much for a crypto game, we have to remind them just how big the industry is. Again, with nearly $200 billion going to be generated this year inside of the gaming industry alone, a short $500 million is such a small fraction. I think that's something like 0.25% of the entire gaming industry's revenue that it's set to generate this year. $500 million in total is, again, such a small, minute percentage of that, especially for something that is thought to be in an emerging industry, in a rapidly growing industry in and of itself. There's a lot of positive stuff to be said here about play to earn games. Now, are they at where they need to be right now? And I think the answer for that is, in short, no. But this goes back to the idea that play to earn is really only a few years old at best. And if we looked at where gaming was after a few years, we still didn't even have Mario. We would have had base level Atari, and then we had base level Donkey Kong and Mario and things of that nature with Galaga and Pac-Man. And if we're looking at where we were then to where we are today, whether that's 40, 30, 50 years later, the industry has grown from maybe a couple $1 million industry to a couple $100 billion industry. And so that's still the way that I see these play to earn games, is that they are still a few years old and they're not going to be at the same level that our traditional games are, because they've been around for multiple times longer than all these play to earn games have been. Nonetheless, there's still a big market for it and the market share is left for the taking. Temsec is to lead $100 million in funding for the crypto landlord Anonymika. Another one over here talks about how we are just continuing to see some of the most funding that we've ever seen in crypto, saying that the largest fundraising rounds in crypto history. And this kind of goes back to the survey that we were talking about earlier from Tom Dunleavy of Messari, just saying that the amount of money that is flowing into crypto right now is record breaking. And that's essentially what this article is saying over here, that crypto fundraising reports for 2022 so far are off the charts, in the sense that we are destroying what we have seen in 2021 in a really positive way. Now, I have a couple other examples here before we go back into the chart. Now, with this one being the NFT creator Doodles is actually raising $54 million in funding to now reaching a $704 million evaluation. And the final one being with INX raising $125 million in an SEC approved token ICO. So let's go back to Doodles because the NFT industry is a really interesting one at that. And so a lot of people think, hey, NFTs are dying or they're not going to go anywhere, or what's the value of these JPEGs? And I would compare the NFT industry very similarly to how I compared the gaming industry, and to say that it is still in its infancy, and the way that NFTs are going to be used 5 to 10 years from now will be so astronomically different than how they are right now. And while there always will be a demand for art, there always has been in history and there always will be. So I think that the idea of just having pictures and arts for NFTs will always be around. However, the way that NFTs will be used in 5 to 10 years from now will be so drastically different from what we see right now. There are things that we will have never even thought of, whether that is tickets or jobs or whatever it may be. Tickets even of ownership. I was talking specifically to sporting events because that's something that Mark Cuban has brought up before. And so when we're talking about tickets, we can either talk about tickets to events or tickets of ownership. And so there's so many different ways that these NFTs can be used. Again, I think NFTs is a very emerging industry, and we'll figure out in the years to come just how many different ways we are going to be able to use them. And INX is a really, really cool case here because we're actually getting ready to go and interview them on the Crypto 101 podcast. So if you don't follow it, go ahead and check it out. We will have an interview with INX coming out here in the not so distant future, where we go and we actually talk through a lot of this with them, because they are one of the projects that really pride themselves in SEC regulation. We're going to talk to them about what that means and why that's significant, and what raising $125 million for an SEC approved token IPO is even like, because that is a rigorous process in and of itself. And so if that is something that interests you and you want to hear more about this, we have the free podcast. It's on everywhere. It's on Spotify. It's on, you can just Google on the internet, Crypto 101 podcast. It's there as well. And we can even have a link attached to that in the description down below. So with all this being said, after looking at multiple series of hundreds of millions of dollars that is flowing into crypto, are you still concerned that crypto is going anywhere for the long term? And that's the question that I have for you. I mean, we looked at countless examples of $100 million, $200 million, $400 million rounds, all coming in and saying, we are very excited about cryptocurrency. We are the top 1%. We are putting so much money into this. And these elites, as you might want to refer to them as, they would not be spending hundreds of millions of dollars on something that they think is going to go to zero in a year. It's not likely. I don't think that they would ever let that happen, because that would be a ridiculous amount of money go to essentially nothingness. And they wouldn't be investing in these projects long term, and they wouldn't be investing in this industry long term if they didn't think that it was going to be around. And so that's one of the big things that I have to challenge everyone with today is, number one, we are talking about people who have an astronomically large amount of money investing in something that they think is going to be around. And so when you look at how much money has flown in this year, if anything, that says that they are more bullish on this dip opportunity than they ever have been before, right? Because if we're seeing more money come in during this dip than we have ever seen before, that is saying that they are more bullish than they have ever been before on this dip, and they are viewing this dip as one of the greatest opportunities of their lifetime, hence why we are seeing more money coming into crypto than we have ever seen. And so despite the chart being low, and we're looking at this and saying, hey, despite crypto being at multi-year lows right now, the top 1% doesn't seem too concerned, and we can see that through the different funding opportunities. So with crypto being down here, everyone, I really truly do believe that this is just going to be something that is short-lived. Maybe we even see more downturn. I mean, there are a lot of macroeconomic uncertainties right now that people are scared of, and that completely makes sense. However, this stuff will not last forever, and when the market recovers, it is going to be a glorious recovery. But that's going to round us up for this video. If you did enjoy, make sure you consider hitting that like and that subscribe button. If you want to join Crypt Nation, there is a link to that in the description down below. I'm one of the analysts over there, and if you want to check out the Crypto 101 podcast for that INX interview, definitely check that one out as well. It will be releasing again in the not so distant future, as we are planning to film it pretty soon here. But I hope all of you did enjoy. Again, it was my pleasure being able to speak with all of you. Tons of stuff happening in the crypto world despite us being in a bear market. But I will leave us here until next week's video. There will be no video on Friday this week because I have to head out to a wedding, but there will be plenty of videos coming back next week. So thank you all, and I will see all of you in next week's video.